Hi, everybody. My name's Erica. I am a travel occupational therapist and founder of The List. Today, my friend Leah Nichols, soon to be Nichols Gillespie, is joining us. She is a former travel physical therapist and still a physical therapist in Chicago. Thanks for coming, Leah.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. As in, we haven't been talking for the last 30 minutes about anything and everything. We just couldn't stop to do the intro. So sneak that in and then we'll just go from here.
Just cut everything before.
Yeah. Okay. It's a secret. So today we're going to talk about mental adjustments for good mental health on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, Leah, thank you for giving it a title, because we didn't know exactly how to title what we wanted to talk about, which is like staying mentally healthy on the road, which is it's a challenge. I would say that's probably the biggest challenge of being a traveler, is like staying mentally healthy when you don't have a set physical community, because you're constantly creating a new one every 3 months. Leah, what has you on this topic?
No, well, I think so I was a traveler for about 2.5 years, and I think my approach to it was, oh, I want adventure, I want excitement, and I want to make some money, which I think is, a big pull for travel therapy. And so with that, I didn't understand how important it would be to take time off between contracts. And so what I usually would do would be finish a contract, give myself a week to move, and start a new contract. Um, and that I think just wore on my body, because it's kind of like a hamster in a wheel. Is that hamster in a wheel or something? It's kind of a go, 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 where it's a constant flow, a constant adjustment, and you're constantly trying to readjust to a new environment or situation. And I think that can be wearing on you. And so I think that was kind of wearing me out a little bit. And then, you're in situations where they might be wonderful, they might be adventure ridden, you can meet some amazing people. But you also might come across some hard things. Like, life can be hard sometimes, and you don't really have the same depth of a support system you would have if maybe you were near your family or your closest group of friends or whoever you call your family. And so I think sometimes the journey on the road of traveling can be a little bit isolating, I guess, or it can be also hard to, with the constant moving, sometimes it can be hard to find the support services you need, like a counselor. I mean, I couldn't even find a dentist in time. So
Yeah,
general upkeep. You can't do that.
You can't. You can't. And I think that this is the biggest, like, probably the most under considered thing for new travelers, or for travelers in general. If you want to get into the doctor, it's going to be a 3-month wait. There's going to be insurance issues across state lines. And by the time you realize you need to see a doctor and get in, you're moving to your next traffic. Same with like getting your hair done, dentist. And you have to trust completely new people that you're going to see one time and never again.
And then you have to like redo all the paperwork. It's like they don't know you, so it just takes extra time. Or if you go to the dentist, they're like, "Oh, we better do your X-rays."
I know. How many dental X-rays have you had? I've had like 1,000. I won't let them. Sometimes they'll say they won't treat me because I won't let them do it. I'm like, I get X-rayed too many times. I'm not doing this for cleaning. I'm not.
Yeah. No, but so then that is also a huge consideration if you actually have like a condition. Like, if you and I are healthy young individuals, which I think we like to stereotypically think all young adults are like healthy and go, but that isn't true. And whether it's a visible illness or non-visible illness, there's a lot of young adults who have something that needs more like care and attention. And that adds a whole nother layer to travel if you have something going on.
Definitely. Okay, so then let's talk about what are some of the fixes. So how do we contend with that?
Yeah, I think if I had done travel therapy again, which who knows, I might. If I would just do it again, I think I would give myself time between contracts. Like you're going to make good money anyways. The numbers right now are amazing, way better than when I was traveling. And so I think it's okay to give yourself a little bit of space in between to go see your family, to go handle some business or something. And I would do that for sure.
Yeah. And I think maintaining your tax home, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard if you're on the road all the time. It's hard to kind of keep that up and those relationships up, but like make sure that it's your official home is somewhere that you have all of these resources so that you can go back. And even that said, like it doesn't solve the problem. I definitely like on my first contract, I had gone to Mexico. So I was right on the border of Mexico and I had insurance, but everybody in the town would go to Mexico to get their dental work done. So I did it just to be like fun and funny and be like, oh, and it was fun. I went and got my tooth fixed and then like we walked out and we're like part of a mariachi band parade going down the street. Like it was fun, but the dental work it was totally messed up and it caused like problem after problem. And I had like 7 dental visits spanning over 4 years to like fix this. They eventually had to like remove the whole tooth and like it was, and so to get those dentist visits, I had to consistently go someplace. So I would keep flying back to Florida. And sometimes I get there and be like, oh, we didn't have you on the books. And I'm like, I literally flew here for this. Yeah. So it's not going to fix the problem, but it's something to think about. You're not going to have that continuity of care. Yeah. So either be prepared to see somebody new all the time for things that you need for yourself or to be continuing to go back somewhere. So if you want your permanent home to be somewhere more accessible, that's something to think about in advance too.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So I had been living in Chicago and I just used my parents' home because I was going back intermittently. In Florida, I forgot we were both from Florida.
That's so weird. I forget that too.
Gosh. Anyways, and I think, it would have been good to reset up just people there. And then usually you can book an appointment 6 months in advance or something like that. And then that gives you plenty of time in a contract to be like, hey, either I need to end my contract by this date or I need this amount of time off in it to go handle some stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, being okay, being flexible, like know that you might not know where you're going to be in 6 months. And so it's okay. Things aren't going to be perfect. Like I had a counselor one time, she gave me like the best advice. She's like, Erica, you have to choose a path, and whichever one you choose, you're going to have the pros and cons of that path. There's no getting the perfect things from this path and the perfect things from this path. It doesn't exist. So you pick one and you're going to deal with the ups and downs. So if you're choosing to do this, understand that getting appointments and stuff is going to be a headache, and don't beat yourself up about it. It just is what we all have to deal with, and, be prepared for it and know that like, even if it doesn't work out perfectly, you'll be okay if you didn't get your hair colored for longer than you wanted or whatever it is, we just go with the flow. Even right now, like I'm in my hometown and I'm like, I'm sure, I'm like, oh, I need to figure this out and find where to change my address to get my produce boxes and, all this stuff.
Do you do imperfectly produce? Or what produce box?
I do that. And I was on it like right away, actually, when I got here. I live and die for it.
That's amazing.
Do you do it?
No.
Oh, no. You like knew right what it was. You're like, I'm aware.
Well, because I've never, is there any other produce subscriptions? But I think that's the most ingenious idea. Oh, there are more?
There was Imperfect Foods. Imperfect Foods and I don't know. I always Google ugly produce and like several of them come up. I can't remember the names.
That's
yeah. So what we're talking about, if you have no idea what we're talking about, is there's these subscription produce things where they'll bring you a box of organic produce every week and leave it at your doorstep. So you don't have to go grocery shopping, and it gives you like a great excuse. Like, I have to eat all these things this week. So it's just a really easy way to be healthy. And especially as a traveler, you don't have to refigure out your grocery stores and stuff. You can just know that they'll bring it to you. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Okay, so question on this, like other things that you need to prepare for to feel okay on the road. Leah, is there anything that you've experienced on the road, or one of the things that you've experienced on the road, to where you just weren't prepared for and it kind of set you off spiraling, or, was upsetting or difficult because you were on the road? So maybe we need to start making a list of things to stay safe in housing, which would be ask if there's cameras. I think if you ask, they have to disclose that to you. And, don't move in with people unless you're really positive you're going to be comfortable there. I always get solo housing, just FYI. It's also because I'm an introvert.
Installed after I moved in. They weren't there originally. Yeah, because don't move in a place with cameras. Yeah. Unless it's a security camera. That's weird.
Putting cameras after you were already living? Like while you were at work?
Probably. I don't know.
That's freaking nuts. That is nuts. Oh my gosh.
I called them. I was like, what is going on? But
you're making my thing sound less bad, less worse.
No, to each their own. But travel is also fun. Like, I met you in travel.
I know. Let's talk about all the fun things that we do in travel.
Yeah, we should turn this around.
Are we?
Guys. Okay, so Erica and I met because she posted on a Facebook group that she needed a date to a winter, just like the winter party.
It was the Christmas party in my company.
God, so I was like, yeah, I'll be your date. And then you said, okay. And
the rest is history.
Did a lot of people respond, or was it just me?
I don't remember. So I posted it in a Facebook group and I said, hey, I'm in San Francisco. This is what's going on. If anybody's around, wants to come do this with me, great. And I've met several friends that way. I mean, a ton of friends in Facebook groups now for travel healthcare.
For Faith? Didn't you guys do?
I met her because we both got hired to the same position, and they hadn't talked, so they accidentally hired two of us for the same position. And I think there was like a 30-day notice, so they had to keep us both for 30 days working the same job. So we just worked it together. But Facebook groups are a great place to connect with people. What else? Something that was a challenge to me on the road was, I don't know if it still is, would be like when holidays would come up, or like my birthday. I remember my very first contract, my birthday rolled around and it was like nothing happened. Like you just like expect that like Christmas will be fun, or like things will happen on certain days, and like you were alone, you're not around anybody, so nobody's really thinking of you, and just like it just like came and went. So like it didn't even exist, and I was so sad about it. And I called my friend Shayna and we talked about it, and it just was. Not that everybody doesn't, some people have families that'll, reach out or be aware or something, but, you're very likely going to spend your birthday alone unless you meet friends there, which it is harder to meet friends on contract because the perm staff, you're only there 3 months. So they, a lot of times don't want to invest in a friendship in you because you're just going to be gone soon. So and you can kind of understand that. So it's easiest to be friends with other travelers if there's other travelers there. It depends, kind of where you are. But I think preparing yourself, like making your own plans for holidays and things where you're not going to be home, is a good thing to do. Like think about what you're going to do that day to where you'll feel fulfilled and not like you missed out on a whole thing this year.
Yeah. No, and I think something, I'm a pretty routine person, I would say, yeah. And so for me to also, when I was moving, it was really important for me to I like to work out. So okay, once I move, I'm going to find a gym for my own self-care, or I'm going to, I usually like to be outdoors or try different cool foods and stuff. So I would just really pinpoint things I wanted to see, or kind of create a little bit of okay, this is going to make me feel happy, and this is going to kind of keep a routine, I guess, does that make sense? I don't know if I said that right, but there's a couple things I would always find right away and be like, okay, I need to have this, I need to have this, and I need to have this, just to kind of center myself, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So whatever your things are, your hobbies or whatever it is, set that up first. And that is really good advice, whatever it is. And also I think finding finding the places that you're going to need to go, like it depends like how busy, if it's a big city or if it's rural, it's going to be a little different, but like, you know, where are you going to get your groceries, like figuring that out, or like basic things that you're going to want to do, like where's there a handy gas station. Again, it depends on the size of the city, but just being comfortable in your surroundings so you don't have to do all of this research every time you need to accomplish like a simple thing, you know. Yeah, and finding your, you know, or a gym, if you're going to go to a gym every day, like do that first so that that's taken care of. You know, it does, and understand it takes a few weeks to get settled into a city. It takes several weeks to where you have all of the stuff that you need. You have access to all of your things. You figured out where you go every day to go do yoga or whatever it is that you do. You know, you're not going to instantly get there and just have all of that stuff figured out. It's going to take weeks to figure it out. Like I usually start feeling really isolated around like 4 to 6 weeks. I'm like, oh my God, I feel totally alone here. And like, this is stressful. And I think that definitely dissipates over time. But there's always this like 4 to 6 week mark where I'm like, what am I doing? I don't have all the things I need. And I'm just like, I'm alone here. And like, I just feel so isolated because you don't have anyone to hang out when you first get somewhere. Like if you're going to make friends, it's going to take time. And then after that 6 week mark, like I start to get really comfortable. And by the time I leave any contract, it feels like home. Anytime I've spent 3 months anywhere, I'm like, oh, I'm totally comfortable here. This is fine. I can function here forever, you know? So there is that roller coaster to go on, and it's totally normal. It's predictable once you've like felt it several times.
And that's also crazy because I think as a traveler, I think that's a normal experience of anyone moving anywhere. But I think they say it usually takes 6 months to a year if you're making a long-term move for really you to find like you're settling in, you have a community. And we're doing that in 3 months.
Right.
That's pretty,
right.
You become a good adapter, I think. Or you just realize like you can probably hang anywhere. And yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, that is funny. You definitely need to be adaptable if you're going to be a traveler. I'm trying to think if I was already adaptable and that's why I got into it, or if I learned that. But something else too.
We're always adaptable, I think.
Yeah,
I think you've already picked up that skill.
Maybe. But something else too is like being okay doing things alone. If you're thinking about traveling, you recognize that like you're not going to have a friend to go to the movies with. You're going to go be doing, you know, whatever it is that you want to do. You're probably going to be venturing out and doing it alone, and just being okay with that. That's not like a threat. I love it. Like I'm very much an introvert and I live and die for being alone.
I'm the biggest no, I'm an extrovert. For
sure,
I'm an extrovert. So I remember the first Friday night, my first Friday night, I called my friend and I was like, what am I supposed to do? I have to go to this bar by myself. And I did it. But God, it's so much more fun when you're with someone. Not even because I'm like insecure to go to a bar by myself, but it's just like way more fun with people.
Going to a bar is way more fun with people. And I've been to many a bars by myself. Even if I knew people in town, if I just wanted to go, I was going to go. That's just sort of how I've been built over these last few years. But there's other things to do besides going to the bar too. Like you don't have to go out on a Friday night. You can learn. I think that's been a big change in me too, even since I started OT school, was that fun kind of left being going out drinking into being out in nature during the day and going on adventures and things you can only see in this place. And that became the fun. So I feel no pressure to be out on a Friday night. I actually love a Friday night in because that's how I roll. But I love like going out on adventures, and like, who cares if you're hiking alone? You're going to be fine, you know?
Yeah. Actually, sometimes hiking is better alone.
What's the weirdest thing that you've done alone? Have you ever been like solo bowling?
weirdest thing I did alone. I think I probably went to like some festivals in LA by myself. I don't know if that's super weird though.
Yeah, that's
That's
fun. Festivals are a
yeah.
good thing
I
too when
don't
they have their annual like fish fry or whatever it is in that community. I think it's so fun.
I don't know. I don't know what I would say is the weirdest thing I've done by myself. I mean, I think I would probably do if I want to do something, I'll do it regardless, but I don't know if I've done anything super weird. I'll also say I'm a pretty big extrovert, so I would typically find some friends, I would say within 2 to 3 weeks, I think.
Fair. I think that's fair. And
But I don't think that's everyone, but I think I just talk to everyone. So sometimes I make a friend at the grocery store and then we hang out. Actually, I did that.
Okay.
And she's one of my best friends ever.
So fun fact about Leah is she is the most extroverted person you will ever come across. And she does talk to literally everyone, and everyone has to be her best friend. She is there for it. She is ride or die for it. So like, let's see, one time we were hanging out in San Francisco and it was over something like maybe Thanksgiving or maybe Valentine's Day. Maybe it was Thanksgiving.
Was it when we cooked for someone? We cooked for travelers, or was it when we met up in Chinatown?
Oh, that was so cute of us. We did. We used to have like Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners. I would always host for travelers. It was so sweet. I loved that. Maybe it was Thanksgiving, whatever. It was a holiday where you spend it with people. And I asked Leah, like super casually, randomly, I was like, oh, Leah, what'd you do? And she goes, I was walking down the street and I just started talking to this homeless man. And I just felt like I wanted to spend the evening with him and take him out to dinner. So I did. And we sat and we just laughed and talked all night. And that was just a typical day for her, which is so awesome. But like, she will meet anyone. And I think that is a skill that you gain, not to her extent, as a traveler, is to just make friends, meet people, talk to people. I mean, anytime Leah and I hang out, I think our mission is just to be real involved in other people's lives. I feel like that's what we always end up doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real, and that's the thing, is like, it's not just talking about the weather. I feel like we got deep pretty quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think something that we did one time that actually, I think it could be really helpful to people on the road that are feeling lonely. And I don't remember if we intentionally did this or not. I think it accidentally happened, but something I have tried to do in the past is, when you're having personally a really hard time, sometimes the best thing to do is to just drop it and be of service to others. So I would try to take a Sunday or a Saturday, whatever it is, and just commit that day every week to just being in service of others, like finding a volunteer opportunity. And sometimes we're not qualified for volunteer opportunities because we have an out-of-state license. That's been a barrier for me. But one time, and you can do this by yourself, I do this. One time, what Leah and I did, and I don't know if it was on purpose or not, we just went out and we were just of service to people all day. And the first thing was somebody was being proposed to. And so, I think.
Wait, do we have this? Do we go out with this mentality?
Or did this
just happen?
I don't know. I don't, even if we did, it would have been great. And I don't know that we did, but I do this sometimes.
Yeah. I was like, Erica, I don't remember us, but I remember this day now. And it just,
as I was kept talking, I can see her in the background. Like,
I was like, I was like, are we that nice of humans? I don't know. No,
you are definitely that nice of a human. Yeah. So we came across, there was this family getting all set up because she was going to get proposed to. And so I'm sure that Leah went up to them, but we got totally in the mix and we were just involved in this project for like 2 hours, which was like alerting someone and like being in the background with a camera. Like we had jobs and posts for this woman to get here at a certain time and him to walk her down to where her family was and propose. Like we got real involved. We were like orchestrating this by the end of it.
I'm into it. Yeah.
And then
And then
I
we sent
think,
them the videos of the proposal afterwards. That was
oh
cute.
yeah. And then other things, I know what happened after you and I split up. Like it kept happening. It was so weird. Like by the end of the day, I had someone, I don't know if I was with you, but like someone asked us to like watch their dog or something. Were you with me for that? And then the weirdest thing, so I'm not even with Leah anymore. Like the day's gone on, I'm acting super normal, I think. And this woman at a gas station comes up and she's like, I have to go and pay. Will you hold my baby? And I was like, yes. And what? Like, so people just like picked up on that energy and just like ran with it. It was like a really cool, fun day, just connecting with the community. Like, I know we did other things that day. I don't remember what they were, but it was all within that theme. And it was
I
fun.
remember,
It was so fun.
I remember a weird day, or just a day where I remember that proposal day, and I remember us talking at some point during that day being like, whoa, this is a random day. Like we're just doing all sorts of different things, like random tasks. I remember that. I will say though, your idea of trying to get out to serve others. I think that's super healthy. And it's hard as an adult. I think as a kid, my parents kind of did a good job setting up volunteer opportunities for me. But I think it's important. It gives you life perspective. And I think we always need a little bit more perspective, you know?
I absolutely 100% agree. And also, it takes you out of yourself. So you're not focused on whatever is stressing you out. You're just helping somebody else and just worried about whatever they need at that time. And, obviously volunteering. And like I said, sometimes it's challenging to do that because you have an out of state license, but there's a ton of opportunities. A lot of times things will be announced as like a one-time thing on Facebook. Like when I was in Mexico, there was this beach cleanup that I wouldn't have known about if I hadn't been tagged in Facebook on it. In a good way, like if you just can't find something, honestly, a super easy way to just be helpful and kind to strangers and to be talking to new people is like just offering to taking people's pictures. Like anywhere you go, people are always trying to take pictures and they don't have a person to do it. Just like show up and offer to be that person. That is a super easy way to just start.
Mm-hmm. Being considerate of others. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Any other tips for staying happy on the road? I know we talked about all the tragedies that could happen. Can we give people some other helpful tips?
Yeah. No, like there's good and bad with everything, right? So with travel, there's so many pros, and it can be isolating. There can be some difficult and uncomfortable, maybe anxiety ridden. I have anxiety, so I feel like sometimes it can be very anxiety provoking. But yeah, I would just say every person's different, but you've got to know thyself. So really being honest with yourself about what you are going to need, understanding you are taking on two of the major life stressors of moving and starting a new job. Isn't it like move, get married, start a new job, and probably have a baby or something like that?
Those are the biggest, like, I don't know. I've never heard that,
I think it's
but I'm
that,
sure it's
and
a thing.
maybe like the loss of someone, I think. So you're taking on moving and starting a new job. And so, giving yourself, being real to check with yourself about, okay, how do you handle transition? How do you handle being away from a support system? Do you have to be on top of any mental health or physical health needs? And, maybe it does take a little bit of forethought or planning, but what was helpful for me and what I needed was trying to immediately find my items to reestablish a routine. I had a goal of making a friend as soon as possible. And then if I would to do it again, I think I would give myself a little bit more space between contracts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. I was somebody who would just work back to back and then like get to the end of my rope. I'd do like 9 months and then I'd be like, bye. And I would just go spend 6 weeks or however long I wanted. I would just go out of the country and not come back till I was ready. And it was usually about 6 weeks. I'm like, okay, I can come back and restart now. And I think everybody's different on what they need, or, you know, how often they need it. Something else, take your weekends off, go do something on the weekend, you know, like go be free, find things that put you in a totally different mindset. And also, you know,
embrace the new place. Like you're only there for 3 months. So
lean into wherever you are, even if it's a remote place. Like there's a lot of like disinterest in going to remote places. I love remote contracts because I will make it fun. I will find all of the things and I will thrive there.
And it's usually a good setup. Usually the only reason why they need a traveler there is because it's remote. It's usually a good job.
Yeah, usually they're good jobs. They're going to pay really well, and you know, you can figure out housing. And something else, like seemingly off topic, but not really, if we're talking about your mental health and, you know, being your best self on the road, do not work unpaid hours on your contracts.
That one was hard for me.
It's hard, but you have to do it. You have to say, this isn't possible in this amount of time. You bill for your hours. And if they don't want you to go over, then when you're done, you're done. You are there for a reason. You are there because you're good at your job. So there's not somebody else there to come and do a better job than you. That doesn't exist, or they would be there. They hired you for this job, and everyone has a max capacity. And facilities are notorious for expecting more out of us than is possible. So you do what's possible, and then that's it. You can work more hours that you're paid for, or you've worked 40 hours and that was all that was possible to be obtained. We're dealing with people here. It's not like we're in accounting and we have 50 sheets of math to do or whatever it is. We're dealing with people that like aren't home when we get to their house, that don't show up for appointments. So you lose productivity, but you still have this 30 minutes. We're dealing with people that you have to send to the emergency room, and that takes a lot of time and care away from your other patients. Like you're dealing in like a very unpredictable environment with people who are very sick and are going to need different amounts of medical care. You can't plan that 2 months in advance and say, oh, they're only going to need 30 minutes this day. That's not reasonable. So whatever you can do is what you can do. Don't work for free, and like set your boundaries and stick to them.
Yeah. That one was hard for me. I'm not going to say I did the best job at that. It was mostly the documentation, I think. I think it was mostly oftentimes, especially when you're getting used to a new documentation system, or I would go from inpatient rehab to outpatient peds to home health to different things. So I think there's also this, you got to kind of turn your brain again to remember different skills, but that just takes some time and figuring out how to appropriately document that. So there were some contracts where I was documenting unpaid, but I don't suggest doing that.
Yeah, don't do that. I was going to say, if you're recommending it, listen to me, not Leah.
don't listen to me. No, because I go back and I think about it, like, that's not fair. Not fair.
Well, and the thing is it also, yes, it is. It's very hard to switch between different facility types, like, different settings is totally a challenge. And there is going to be a learning curve, but they consider that. They have to consider that there's a learning curve. They knew your history before they hired you. There is training time, and they have to pack that in at an appropriate amount. And so the other thing is, if we're working off the clock, they then expect everyone else to work off the clock and just not report it. You have to report the hours that you work, and they have to pay you for those hours. So if you're just trying to slide it, and don't, trust me, I did the first thing on my first assignment. I was like, their productivity is these 27 points. And so I have to get it done. And I would just be, or they would be like, oh, they have more patients. I'm the only OT here. They need all these people seen. So I would just do everything to see all of the patients. And I was working like so many hours a week. And it wasn't until, I don't know what the change was, but I realized, like, wait a minute, this is a them problem, not a me problem. They need 2 OTs, or, I can only work these 40 hours, or they have to pay me overtime. And then when I brought it to them, they weren't even upset with it. They just had no idea. They just weren't even considering it because I was working all these hours because I couldn't go overtime without permission. So I was working all of these hours overtime and just not telling them because I had to get my job done. That was my first contract perspective. And when I did bring it to them, they're like, oh, I didn't even know that was a problem. Yeah, go overtime. Just see all the patients you can. We just need to get them taken care of. So like, that was me taking that on myself. Like, you need to be upfront about what's going on and, you know, stay within the limits you established together.
And that's something that I think you are good about, those type of boundaries. I'm working on it. No, but okay, so maybe you're in a contract that's had a hard time finding a permanent employee for various reasons, but maybe the culture of other clinicians at the contract is documenting unpaid, right? Or is, and that's already for the full-time employees. Let's just say documenting unpaid, but for the full-time employees, that's kind of like the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been in that situation too. And I think that is kind of uncomfortable to like be the rock the boat one and say, oh, I actually documented this long. This is how long it takes to effectively do my job.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I should have called Erica. Erica, how do I do that?
I've been hearing this my whole life. Well, I mean, you just start doing, you don't have to make a big thing about it. Just document that I worked, 43 hours this week, whatever it is. And then if they come to you about it, then you can say, this is how long it took. And that is what it is. I mean, yeah. So they could have a culture of people working off the clock. And if they're salary, then they can do that. But you're an hourly employee for somebody else. They're using your services. You are a W-2 employee for your agency, and you are paid by the hour. So you're not even paid the same as them. It's a different thing. I mean,
I think most of the time it was hourly. I don't think I worked anywhere salary.
Right, but I'm saying the permanent people are salary. So however long it takes them to do their job is how long it takes them, and that's their thing. You can't bear other people's burdens, but you're an hourly employee, and that's the law, that if you're working, they have to pay you for it. That is the law. That's not like they're going to be mad at me or something. Like, they can't. There's a law about it for that reason. You either work less or, it's just take it, Leah, take it.
I need to work on this. No, Erica, I need you. Like, Erica's Leah's backbone. Like, Leah's just like, oh, whatever. And then Erica's like,
this is how it is.
Yeah. You're like my straight shooter, What a dream team, though.
What's that?
What a dream team we could be.
I know. We are a dream team.
Make a friend for us, and then you'll go make sure we get the fun out of an experience.
All right. Well, how long are we at? I have no idea. But Leah, I super appreciate you coming on and talking about this. There are actually some kind of uncomfortable things to talk about, so I appreciate you like being vulnerable and addressing them and having a real honest conversation about what life on the road can be like. So thank you for your time, and thank you for your honesty.
Thank you for having me, Erica.
You're welcome, my dear. You're so anytime. We can always continue this conversation. All right, Leah, well, you have an awesome rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good.